In the red rust land of Kytheron, where the sky is never still, Orivain walked with his satchel of bones and branches, hearing them whisper of lives that never were. The ground shifted like memory, and the spires bent as though listening. Above, the watchful planet Grythos frowned with ancient patience, while its timid sibling, Luntherial, trembled at the horizon's edge. And far beyond the mirage of distance, she waited, Velithraen, with her vast black gaze, holding a staff that stirred the hidden chords of worlds. Orivain lifted his eyes, awe in his breath, for he knew the meeting was not chance. In the silence between heartbeats, the whole sky leaned closer, and judgment turned to recognition. When Orivain stood before her, the air refused its ordinary work. Breath hovered, unspent. The sky peeled back its silence like a curtain, revealing veils of color that belonged to no spectrum he had ever known. Velithraen lowered her staff, and the ground answered with a pulse, as though the soil itself had veins. Her gaze was not upon him, but through him, past him, into a corridor of possibilities where his names had not yet been chosen. The satchel at his side shivered. Bones rang like crystal. Branches unfurled as if awakening to her presence. Their whispers grew bold, no longer murmuring of unborn lives, but calling out to her as if they remembered her voice. Neither spoke, yet between them stretched a recognition older than speech. An exchange written in the tilt of planets, the breath of suns, the patient arithmetic of shadows. In that moment, the horizon bent inward, and the world itself leaned closer to overhear what could not be said aloud. Velithraen's staff trembled once, then stilled. Her lips parted, but what emerged was not a voice. It was a chord, soft and vast, like glass struck underwater. Orivain felt the note thread through his chest, loosening the knots of every forgotten moment. He answered without deciding to. I carry what has not happened. The satchel opened slightly on its own, a pale hum rising from within. Then you carry what is truer than memory. Her black gaze deepened, and shadows twisted upward like smoke learning how to pray. The bones have whispered your name since the first horizon bent. Because I am the horizon bending. The sky flickered, as though the stars themselves inhaled. And in the silence that followed, their meeting ceased to be two figures on shifting ground. It became a crossing of architectures, a hinge of worlds, a doorway remembering it was always meant to open. The ground beneath them cracked, not from weight, but from recognition. A seam of light bled upward, widening into a glyph that stretched across the horizon. Velithraen raised her staff, and the air bent sideways. Colors unbound themselves from form. Crimson wept into blue. Blue melted into sound. Sound collapsed into silence that roared. I am smaller than this moment, yet it swallows me whole. The satchel tore open, spilling not bones and branches, but constellations in miniature. They spun about him, wheeling like caged galaxies suddenly set free. Do not be small. You are the fracture by which the infinite remembers itself. Her voice carried weight enough to tilt his spine. His chest opened, not with blood or breath, but with a radiant fracture. A split where time poured in and out in equal measure. If I am the fracture, then what are you? Her staff struck the soil once. The world flinched. Trees that were not trees uncoiled from the ground, spiraling upward in impossible geometry. Their branches hung with symbols still dripping with their own invention. I am the echo that makes the fracture sing. The seam of light surged, lifting them both from the plain. For a moment, Kytheron itself seemed to lean on its axis, listening like a witness called to testify. And in that instant, Orivain knew this was not the beginning of a journey. It was the moment the journey remembered him.